and welcome to this very latest episode of Aegean Blue. Enjoy it. Use the comment section below if you're watching on your computer, because I had a few issues in this episode, as you'll find out. But enjoy. Feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down, as usual. Thank you. Check out this for a bit of unobtainium. Ball joint made in the UK. My goodness. Right, that's going to go on the car. It might be a Land Rover OE part. That doesn't mean it's got any fucking grease in it. So all the grease is on one side. Nothing on this side at all. So I'm going to redistribute a tiny bit and then put the dust cap back on the top. You can actually see inside the dust cap. Half of it is bone dry. Yeah, that's OE quality for you. I mean, I would recommend doing this before you fit any ball joint, to be honest. I always take them apart because I never quite believe them. Disappointing though, isn't it? I mean, look at that. And then they wonder why these things wear out in no time at all, because that's not going to redistribute itself under normal service conditions. Going through the issues that you've had with, sorry, the customers had with the wash wipe. So the screen washers don't wash the headlamps when the headlights are on. The circuit was connected. There's a relay up here that controls that, so I'll go through and diagnose that. The rear wash wasn't working, largely because it wasn't connected, so there was nothing connected on that. Most importantly though, I think, is that the splash panel is missing from the bottom down here. So there's normally a bracket, a right angled bracket that comes off the bulkhead and connects onto the inner wing there. And because that's missing, it's basically firing all the road crap up the back of this, which might be interfering with the electrics. I don't know. It's not the end of the world. I've seen worse. I just connected the two terminals on the back here up to a voltage, and yes, I got wet. So we know the pump is working. We know that the pipes are all intact. So I think the next step will be just I'll clean up the contacts on this headlight wash relay. It's this big chap just here. He's a bit of a monster. There's this chap here. Headlight wash relay. It's a timing relay. So the idea is the circuit only goes to this. Look at that, some rusty contacts in there. Oh dear. I'll clean up the contacts and we'll take it from there. Well, just putting the bloody connectors on the back of the washer bottle has got, and also cleaning up the relay, has got the headlight wash working, and the rear wash works now. I don't know about the rear wiping yet, but I can sort that in a second. What I'm going to do, so the wash is working. You can see it's dribbled down the back of the screen there. So that's all working. I'm going to now let's turn the lights off. Oh, lights off. Took keys out as well, just in case. We don't want to be. And also the alarm works now. Look at that. And you can see in the middle of the dash over there, the red light's flickering away. And that'll go into armed mode now. That's armed. And then unlock, and it unarms. So the alarm's working, although there's no hooter on it. Right, the other thing I found was I found the aerial wire. This is the aerial wire for the alarm, for the remote central locking. It connects up to the aerial alarm box, and it was all tucked up right underneath kind of the steering column. I don't know why, but it was. So I'm just going to put it along the front of the dash, which is kind of where mine is, and it'll probably operate a bit more efficiently as well. How about that? One lambda. This is lambda number 1. Okay, lambda number 1 goes into new passenger side boss and screws into the thread, but as you can see, it's not convincingly screwing into the thread, and even when it's almost all the way down, I can still wobble it. That is not the right thread, and it's not going to tighten either. Okay, so it's looking like, first and foremost, this is showing signs, just showing signs that because of this joint down here, it's a pre-93 exhaust system here on a 94 car. And I think that someone has welded the bosses on. Now, God knows where the bosses have come from. So what I do is I measure the internal diameter of these bosses. I haven't got a tap big enough to go into it. And these are coming out, as you can see here, in the region of 10.6 millimetres or thereabouts. So let me go to the new Boss, and these are coming out in the region of 11.23. So that Boss with that lambda sensor is not the same, and I think this is a problem with my existing system. The problem is 11.37. I think that these two lambda sensors, I don't know where they've come from. They've obviously come off this exhaust system. They fit on this exhaust system. I think this exhaust system has been cobbled together, because the part number for the earlier Range Rover system translates into the later system. So the lambda sensor, regardless of whether it's an early system or a late system, is exactly the same. Now, like I say, I've got no idea where these pipes have come from, but that looks like a factory weld. However, that doesn't. So it looks like they've been adapted from something and then bolted on. I've got no idea. Answers below, please. But basically, you can see here, this thread is significantly smaller. So, right, we got to the bottom of it at least. Sorry, Famous Four. I've done you a bit of disservice here, I'm afraid, chaps. You've sent me 2 of these systems here, and you've paid for pre-1 AM delivery on at least one of them. I paid on the other. So we're going to need to work out what on earth is going on here. I probably should have measured these fuckers yesterday, but the fact that both sensors fit into this Boss was probably more fluke than anything else. Anyway, the drama of it all is MOT's 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, customers arriving at 11 o'clock on Sunday to drive the car home, and Thursday it looks like this, with no chance of getting the Lambdas until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. So it's going to be a full-on morning tomorrow. Let's hope the weather is less inclement than it has been today. 2 boxes of blue joy and wonderment, and they both fit beautifully. The terminals, the connectors are exactly the same as the old ones, but they actually thread in rather than just dropping in. So I don't know where these have come from. You can let me know. I'm sure there will be something to let me know. Oops, ouch. We'll have a quick look at this Series 3, because these are beaut. I want to see what they've done with the dash. Oh, that is gorgeous. The paintwork on it is lovely. Refurbed the dash, that's all recovered in there. Done a nice job. It's really good. A checker plate, of course. Checker plate goes with the tyres. Nice wheels as well. Nice tyres. Sorry, seats. Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's all right, that. New canvas top. Shame about the wheels. New gal chassis as well. Gal chassis. Very nice. Right, Lambdas are fitted up beautifully. On the bottom of this cat, it's good advice this, but basically what they're saying is it's very important the cause of the original failure is understood and resolved before fitting this cat. I'll come into that in a second. Exhaust paste must not be used forward of the cat, because I think basically what happens is little balls of exhaust paste fall inside and they break down. They attack the honeycomb and break it down. It's strongly recommended that new lambda sensor and gaskets be installed. Well, we've done that. How about that? And after fitting the new catalytic converter, we recommend that the vehicle run for 10 minutes at fast idle or driven at a leisurely pace continually for 8 miles to prolong the life of the cat converter. Well, it's all back on, connected up, lambdas are connected up, everything's connected up. Let's give it a go. I've had to use nuts and bolts where nuts and bolts came out. Not ideal, but shit happens. Okie doke. Right, is it going to work? We've got... Is the alarm going off? Yes, the alarm's going off. Right. Right, alarm's off. Right, which one's that blowing? Blowing out the joints, the downpipe. Nip that up a bit tighter then. Right, the issue we've got here is that the this driver's side exhaust manifold, there were 2 bolts in it, and there was a nut and bolt in it. So 2 bolts and a nut and bolt, and I put studs back in where the bolts had come from. One of the studs is gripped beautifully. The other one, despite the fact the thread is beautiful on it and it went in, is not good enough. The thread isn't good enough. So God knows what the stud is. I tried putting a short M8 bolt in, didn't like it. So I'm putting a slightly longer M8 bolt in now. And what I've done really to give it a fighting chance, I've loosened all of the manifold bolts up on this side. So all 8 on the manifold to head and the other remaining 2 on the manifold to downpipe, and see if we can get it to align itself and tighten up. And if that don't work, this is going to have to go on, which is my spare 92 driver's side exhaust manifold. I don't know why I've got a spare of these. I'll pick them up at some point. Sniped off eBay, I expect. I see these things and they're local. I tend to go for them. Yes, so if this don't work, that's going to come off that exhaust manifold. I'm going to have to put the other one on because I'm fed up with pissing around with it. And I can't piss around with it too much more because the MOT is due in 3¼ hours. It's fucking done it. Right, okay, I ended up putting the other manifold on it. I could not get that manifold to seat properly using that stripped out thread. I'll do an exchange on it, the old one. That thread there, and you can see where it was blowing because that thread wasn't sealed up. Right, let's get the rest of the thing back together again. We have got 2¼ hours to the MOT. Right, MOT time. Start repairs. Right, I just flicked out the LPG in it. Installed. Should be alright now. Mine does fiddles and faffs around with kind of swapping from one to the other. Right, okay, and off we go. I don't need my glasses to see down the road, but I need my glasses to see the dashboard, which is why I'm perched on the end of my nose. I've got to lube up the steering wheel. It's just squeaky against the housing. Yeah, you might need to use your side of the road, I'm afraid, old chap. Little vibration at 3000 RPM, but it's a lot better than it was. Picks up quite nicely now. Sounds a bit lumpy though. It's running smooth. Not got the turbine smoothness mine has. I will double check all the HT leads. I did check that they were properly seated, and they were. So we're running 2000 RPM down to 1000. Kick down nicely. Vibration coming through the floor now. I'm nowhere near 3000 RPM, so I think that's more like to be drivetrain. That's wheel balance or possibly prop shaft balance. And judging by the corners that have been cut on this car before this current owner got on with it, it's probably going to be prop shaft balance. Could be wheel balance. So I've driven through that, so the vibration's stopped now. And I'm doing same revs. I have in my hand a piece of paper, and the piece of paper says MOT pass. Woohoo! Right, I'm going to go get the tracking done. And then after that, it wouldn't start up at all. I think it's a reoccurrence of the what's his name problem. The non-start problem, because I got it to the point where it would fire, roar into life, and then conk out. Oh hello, tailgate's open. Let me just pull the tailgate down. Obviously didn't shut that. One sec. I'm not fucking turning him off again until I get back, because I need to find out why the fuel pump is not always working. I suspect it's got a ropey freaking connection. So we're running on LPG now. Seems happy enough. Weird. Anyway, we've got the MOT pass, which is good news. Fuck's sake. 4:30. Right, let's vacuum in over there. Right, can I get round that back corner? Get a quick look. Yes, I can. Right, I might just pull him in just a little bit wider, so because if I have to take the back wing off, oh, fuck it. Nearly. This is the same problem. That's what he was doing outside the it's making noises down here. I wonder if we've got a fucking vacuum. We've got a vacuum on the tank. Let's turn him off. Does he start up again? No. To do with this being a bit further in. Oh right. Now we decided we're not going to go at all. Just a minute. Now I had this problem earlier on, and it turned out then it was the wire on the back of the solenoid, starter solenoid. Another piece of lazy bodgery. The trouble is, that now is down here. It's on. It's not the best contact, but it's on. I need to remake that contact. Right, cup of tea time. Fuck it. Okay, so I've come out again, left it to cool down, come out again, and for a start off, it's turning over, and secondly, it then started. Didn't want to start. I really did have to give it some, put it onto LPG. It was not going to start on petrol. Now, of course, it's starting and running, and there's 13.5 volts going through the system. It runs on petrol and LPG. So starting and running on LPG and petrol. And it's happy enough. I guarantee if I turn this thing off, it will not restart again. How weird is that? And I reckon if I put the jump pack on it, it will start. Very weird, huh? Right, okay, so nothing at all. And if I put it onto a charge, so we're putting some amps in it, will it start? That's weird, isn't it? So it'll start if I put 13 volts through, so I'm going to have to go and find where the break in the circuit is. It's somewhere, and I suspect it's somewhere on the fuel side of everything. And this is kind of where it's just amusing, not. So on the back of this fuel cut-off, we have, if I get rid of the black wire, altogether, let's unplug it, because we don't think the seat heaters fucking work anyway. So let's just pull that wire out of the way, get over to there. So on the back of the inertia switch, we should have two wires. There's the two wires that come out of the inertia switch, okay? One goes into the loom, yeah? And then it's broken, right? It's broken, and it feeds off into these two wires here, which go into this sock of joy and wonderment. What the fuck is that? I've got no idea what that is. I have no idea. It's another point of failure. It would have been probably a switch originally, an immobiliser switch. Possibly. Something to do in the immobiliser circuit. There's more extra wiring down here. I don't know what that is either. That's not standard. That would have had a fuse on it originally, I expect. I wonder if there's some bizarre alarm system that's been removed out of this car at some point. Right, first and foremost, I'm going to get rid of this shit. And I'm going to bridge it back into how it should be. Well, there's a wire, two wires come out of the loom, because you remember I said there was two wires come out of the loom. There's a blue and white, and there's a white and purple. They should go straight into the back of this box down here. Okay, this bit shouldn't exist. This is not helpful. Let me see if I can get that bit out, and then... Why? Why do people do these? Well, I suppose it's an immobiliser, isn't it? Stop someone's nicking your pride and joy. The next problem I've got with this thing is up here. Let me pause a second and put me... actually, get me torch face. There's torch face. Up here. All of this shit up here is the original fuel injection kind of connectors. Yeah, these fellas. And then they're spliced into the LPG ECU connectors. So we're kind of overcomplicating this circuit really by adding all this extra loom in, which I don't know what it's doing or why it's there. Well, I know it's there because of LPG. Easiest way to do this is to undo the 6 bolts, take the bloody driver's seat out. Right, okay, because all the wiring is there. I need to tidy up this wiring completely. It's a right fucking shambles. I'm just going to bundle it all up, tie wrap it to the bottom of the seat, because it just gets in the way of everything. Right, in the meantime, however, what we're going to do next, I'm going to plug in my little ECU code reader. You can get much more modern systems. There's something Rover Tech, or I can't remember the name of it now, but Google it. 14CUX Diagnostics, and there's an application you put on your computer, you buy a cable which plugs straight into the diagnostic port, which is this fella here. And it will read your codes on your car, on the ECU. But I want to find out what's going on with this ECU. So I've got my 1,000-year-old instructions here. So we're looking at the connector, that way round, red, white, yellow, black. Let me plug it in. Well, I suppose it's good and it's bad. There's no code stored on the system at all. So what I've done is I've kind of plugged in I've unplugged the fuel temperature sensor. So if I turn the ignition on now, I get an error code on it, 21. Okay, it will only display one code at the time, this thing, which is the disadvantage. You need to fix this code before it will show you the next code. So 21 tells me tune resistor out of range, check tune resistor. Tune resistor is there, I think. That's the tune resistor. It is. It's got a nice little resistor on it. So I found this useful document online. This is from Rover V8 tuner.org, something along those lines. Anyway, I'll post the link below. It's very, very useful. It gives a big schematic on the diagnosis of 14 CUX systems. But one of the things it's talking about here is the tune resistor. So the tune resistor, so white cables indicates that it's a USA or European vehicle with catalytic converters, should run to 3,900 ohms. Checking it on this, 3.9, well, it comes to 3,900 ohms. So as far as I'm concerned, the tune resistor is good. Quite why it's given me a tune resistor error, I don't know. It might seem a bit foolhardy, I know, but we've got another 3.9 14 CUX system here. So I've plugged customer's ECU into my loom. Does it work? Fires up straight away. That's no issues whatsoever. So that fires up. So we know the ECU is a good one. I haven't diagnosed all the codes on it, but it's certainly not going to stop it from running. So let's go and put this back in and move on to the next step. Right, as far as I can see, everything on the original side of this circuit appears to be working absolutely beautifully and exactly as it should. Okay? So my concern I've got now is that something on the LPG circuit is sitting between the ECU and the injectors. I think if I give everything a really good clean up in here, clean all the connectors, clean all the devices, check the looms, so there's the driver's side loom. So basically what happens is this sends a signal to this. This runs, it's just a 4-cylinder emulator chap, which then connects onto the 4 injectors. So that'll be cylinder 8, cylinder 8, cylinder 6, cylinder 4, cylinder 2. Okay, that's the way it works. And you plug that onto the injector and you plug that into the loom. And that's the way it works. I'll give all of these a good clean up. At the moment it's configured to run on petrol. So I'm going to bung the plenum back on again. Just drop it into place, hold it in place with a couple of bolts and see if we can fire up. I've pulled the other side apart as well because I just wanted to find out. I mean, for a start off, the loom was all knotted up anyway, and you kind of never really find out what exactly is going on when everything is so badly knotted. So this fella has one feed that goes to all of the injectors, and again, this is another 4-cylinder emulator. This goes down to this chunk of wire here, which feeds into the main feed into the circuit. Now, the main feed into the circuit looks like that. Yes, it looks like that. That's not great, is it? So I'm probably going to remake those terminals. There's all manner of shit going on under here. The other thing I found which amused me, because it always amuses me, things when I find stuff like this, is that. So this is the wire that goes across from the ECU, the OMVL, whatever it is. Part of it goes into the car, the other part of it, so that wire there will go straight through to the switch. Okay, this wire here has got all that shit wrapped around it. Wonder why. Right, so there it is running on petrol. There's a belt going somewhere. Runs really sweet when there's no LPG system in the way. Now, that was a bastard start because it flooded itself. Probably because I was busy doing other shit and hadn't realised that the fuel injection was probably priming itself. Ooh, rear wipers on. That's nice, isn't it? Rear wipers on. I just want to give this thing a minute or two just to warm itself up. Especially seeing as it's flooded, I want to warm it through now. Stupid bloody thing. Anyway, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to be lunch in a second, but what I'm going to do after is I'm going to clean all these connectors up in here and reassemble this lot and see if I can get the fucking thing working on LPG. But I want to get it starting reliably on petrol first of all. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. That was trapped in between the alternator and the and in here we have got, there's a belt squealing there. So down here we've got the connector, which is all of the, right, so I'll remake that connector as well. There is a belt squealing, but I've noticed while I've been going over this as well, a lot of these HG leads are very shacked out. I mean, look at this one here. It's not the best, is it? But that wouldn't have stopped it starting. Right, I suspect what's happening here is there's bolts missing out of the plenums. It's whistling through the plenums. It's probably running too late. Let's position those in. Thank you, Mr. Gravity. Yeah, there's a whistle round here somewhere, because I've obviously not resealed the fucking plenum top, so it's just doing a little bit of a whistle as it sucks through the side of the plenum. I'll fix that before it all goes back together finally. There we are. Fixed that already. Right, okay, let's clear this lot back in here again. Mr. Gravity decided that it likes the floor, so it decided it was going to just launch everything at the floor, which is most fucking kind of it. Made me jump about 4 miles in the sky. Oh, there's nice. There's a water pump gasket there. Right, that's got it. So the airflow meter's working now. I mean, look how fucking this thing runs when it's not got all that LPG stuff in the way. Let's warm him up properly. Like I say, I can probably disconnect this now. Let's disconnect this because I had to start and charge on it because I was cranking it over so much I didn't want the thing to die out. Oh, how beautifully that runs on petrol. So we've got a lot of terminals to clean up here. Lots of them. There's something, somewhere, is stopping this thing from starting on petrol when the LPG is in the loop. Right, okay, let's turn off. Will it restart? Yes, it will is the answer. Right, I think what I do now is I'm going to go for some lunch, and then when I get back I will check this thing restarts and behaves itself. So it's working beautifully now. Right, back from me lunch. Will it start? Yes, is the answer. So I think we got to the bottom of the problem why it wasn't starting. What are we going to do next? Well, I'm going to have to clean all these connectors up and put this system back in. We're assuming, of course, that the wiring on this thing is intact. And then I'm going to have to clean up these various boxes and bits and bobs to get them sorted out. I'll do it in such a way that we kind of can minimise the amount of effort moving forwards, because a lot of this wiring was tangled around brake pipes and God knows what else up here. And see if we can get the system to run on LPG now, or certainly to start on petrol like it is at the moment. I still need to do the wax over that. I haven't done that yet. I need to do that. Don't know what else I can do, really. It runs beautifully on petrol. Everything's working on petrol. I've not put all this lot back in yet, because partly because I want to tidy all this crap up under here, but also just make sure that there is nothing under here whatsoever that's going to be causing this problem. But see, mine starts on the first click every time, but I don't know if there's been an ECU modification that means that this thing winds over 3 or 4 times before it starts, or there's something in the circuits in this car that means it winds over 3 or 4 times before it starts. Right, having plugged it all back together again, it will not start. I'm fairly confident that there's an issue somewhere here on this LPG loom or box or ECU or something. Something is causing this thing not to start, and it's something that has existed since before I got the car. I don't want to flood it again. Nothing. Fuck all. Zilch. Kaput. So there's a fault on that ECU loom, on that LPG loom. It makes any difference at all if I disconnect the. That was interesting, wasn't it? That was very interesting. Fix that. Right, where are we with this thing? Okay, so after the non-starting issue, when I put the LPG loom back on again, and I found the dodgy connection, and I thought, oh, that was it. No, it wasn't it. I took all the LPG loom back off again, and here it is, all is over here, put it back onto petrol, and it would not start. And started since. It coughs, so you wind it over and over and over and over and over, and eventually it goes bleh, and then wind it over and over and over and over and over, and bleh. And I'm kind of, you know, take the plugs out. The plugs are damp, so it is flooding itself, but it's not starting. Now, when one of these things floods itself, you wind it over and it will start to fire, and it will continue trying to start from the point where it first fires. And it chunters away, and eventually it clears its throat and it will start. This thing, I don't think, although it's flooding the plugs, I don't think that it's actually getting more fuel through. In an ideal world, right at this point, I should be connecting my fuel pressure gauge and my T-piece into the circuit. I didn't have that available to me at this point. So I'm trying to improvise here, trying to work out if there is pressure and if the pressure is being maintained. Right, so I've hot-wired the pump. Pump's running. And it's just pumping fuel straight through. I reckon the regulator's gone. I'm going to take the regulator off and check it. So I can prove this, I think. I'm just going to stop the pump from running. The pump's now stopped. And the rail is still just dribbling out. So the rail is emptying itself. So that pipe's empty. What I could do next, I'm not going to video it, I'm just going to disconnect the battery because we don't want any sparks. I'm just going to crack the joint on the feed, because there should be pressure under there. There should be 30 psi of pressure. And if there isn't, then I know that the regulator's gone. I'll just crack that joint off. There's no fuel in there at all. So the regulator, I believe, is just pouring fuel straight through, and it isn't pressurising the fuel rail. So I'm going to take the regulator off, and you can see the regulator just here. A couple of bolts, vacuum pipe on one end, and a hose on the other. And it should come out. It seals into, seals, this is the fuel rail here, and it goes in to that joint there. What a ball's ache. Right, okay. Right, so we disconnected the engine side of the fuel filter, and we wound in an adapter, my little pressure gauge. Oh, that's nice, it started raining. Right, so what we'll do now, again, we'll hardwire the pump into life. And what we were expecting to see is about 2.5 bar. So let me just get myself sorted out here. Oh, where's my cable gone? There's the cable there. Sorry, I didn't video it for some reason. But basically what we've got here, it went up to 4 bar. So the pump is producing pressure. And it's going to tail off now. And the book tells you how far it should drop. It's not a huge amount it should drop. I shall leave that as it is. I've disconnected the pump now. So we know that the pump is producing pressure, which is good news. Right, it's D-Day. The parts finally come in from China, but that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. There we are, nice new pressure regulator. Important part about this thing, by the way, you need to make sure the O-ring came off with the old. Now this one didn't, and I was able to get a small flat blade screwdriver into the end of the fuel rail and hook the damn thing out. But if the O-ring doesn't come out, then you'll need to investigate where it is, because it should have an O-ring. Now, just checked it against the sizes and everything, it's all looking good. I'm going to bolt this fella up. Let's be doing with him. It was a bit of a bastard to get in. It's this bottom bolt here. There's a bolt at the bottom of the unit. Obviously got 2 bolts, 1, 2. Where's the old unit? There we are. So when you pop him in, it's accessing this bolt down here from behind the injectors. Obviously, if the injector rail was off, I'd be able to do it a piece of piss, but I really didn't want to disturb all the injector seals. They've probably been on this since the dawn of time. Anyway, it's in place now. That is that. Now I can put the plenum back on top. As you can see, I was able to manipulate heater hoses and so forth out of the way. Put the return pipe back on, put the feed pipe. So here's the return pipe. That can go back over here. He goes on. Shouldn't be any real pressure in the return pipe, which should be talking about 3 or 4 psi kind of tops. But then there shouldn't be, because it's open-ended. So it doesn't matter how hard the pump is working, it will just flow gently, torrent back into the fuel tank. Right. You're going to have to take my word for it, but the car started straight up. No problems at all. Obviously the fuel line had to refill, but it started. And it then restarted about 5 or 6 times. No problems at all. And I thought, darn it all, I forgot to video it, so here we go. It's doing this again. Oh, you fucker! You can understand sometimes why a car gets a right shoeing. Right, okay, so where are we now? This car started, turned off, started, turned off, started, turned off about half a dozen times, and now it will not restart. And as you can see, I've got the fuel line off again. So, this particular test, you need to be careful first and foremost. We're dealing with petrol here, we're dealing with high pressure petrol in theory, so the first thing I'm going to do is glove up. The second thing I'm going to do is make sure I've got the powder fire extinguisher to hand. Ideally I'd be doing this out in the open, but we're kind of not mobile at the moment. Let me get myself gloved up and I'll go through what I'm going to do here. Gloved up, fire extinguisher's ready, not going to need it. Right, okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to work without the ignition. So I want to basically energise the fuel pump and see if I can work out how much flow is coming out of this. And I should be able to really just kind of put my thumb over this and it should squirt out, like I was doing with the water pump yesterday, or in the last video, where it was going to, you just put your thumb over the end of the pipe and it should go over the fence. When I connect the battery, yeah, from within the engine bay, that fuel pump should work, and I should start pumping fuel. So let's have a look. Right, it's pumping fuel. I can hear it. So, what I need to do now, how can I do this? Because I need two hands. Yeah, that'll do it. Right, okay, so now, when I connect up the battery, we can see the fuel's coming in through, yeah? Whoops, got a spill there. The pump has pressure. I'm not convinced that that is enough pressure. I think I'm going to empty this tank out in the way I'm doing like this now, and I'm going to get the fuel tank off, because I think the fuel pump has issues. And again, just being, in fact, we're probably out of fuel now. Look at that. Okay, drop the fuel tank down. A couple of observations on the fuel tank. This is obviously not a standard Range Rover fuel tank. This is because there are LPG tanks where the OE fuel tank sits in between the chassis rails at the back end of the car underneath the boot floor. This is just a little slave petrol tank that sits next to the driver's side chassis rail aft of the rear wheel. Firstly, when the pump was sucking air, this thing's still got about half a gallon in it. It's quite a lot of fuel, so I'm guessing the pickup doesn't go down to the bottom of the tank. Also, this leak you've got, I would say, is quite extensive, and along this edge here, someone's kind of tucked silicone in there. Not entirely sure I understand why. But probably find there's a hole behind here. Yes. It's not good. Right, so that was nearly 11 litres came out of that, and yet the pump at the front was sucking air. This is the last of the fuel that came out of the tank. That's not pretty, is it? That was right at the bottom of the tank. Now, what I was looking at here was, I was looking at the tank and the way that this fits in here. That is easily going to bottom out in this tank, and you can see in there's a circle on the base there. It has been bottoming out. The pickup is through here, through this pipe, so that's the pickup pipe. The pump goes down inside here. I need to find out, in fact I'm wondering if, because basically the way these things work, let me go onto the bench. Right, so this pump, we've got the float at the bottom there. The reason that the float level is not working is because we've got like that much fuel in here. So it's registering it's half full. If the tank was empty, it would be down at the bottom and it'd be registering empty. The problem is, when I've got this much fuel in the car, yeah, it's not actually taking any. It's not sucking any out. So what we've got is we've got the fuel return that goes down here to this non-return thing here, and then that's got some sort of mechanism that goes into the base of this anti-swirl kind of slop tank. So as the fuel slops backwards and forwards, you need a certain amount of fuel needs to be inside this bucket, which the pump then sucks up on. The other thing that's amusing, I'm going to get this fuel tank inside now, is that the fuel tank isn't too bad inside, but you can definitely see where the fuel level has been lower. So there's like a rust line that goes around the inside of it. I don't need to put the endoscope in there, but let me put him up here. Put him up there, get Torchy McTorchface. You can see the various tide lines inside there. And that's one thing that kind of happens when you constantly run fairly low levels of fuel, that the rust appears above the top of it. What I do want to do is look with the endoscope down into this end. I might even be able to put the, I'm not going to put the camera inside it. Again, inside the tank here we can see there is spots of rust going on in here. No baffle in it at all. The plastic tank I don't think has a baffle in it either. Right, just packing up, trying to tidy things up. This is the original feed pipe that went to the filter from the top of the tank. I think it might be just about past it. I'm wondering if we've got an air leak on this somewhere. I want to quickly check this this pump. First and foremost, I don't believe that, because I managed to get 11 litres out of the tank yesterday, I know this thing goes to the bottom for now. In fact, it's probably compressed even slightly. I want to test the pump. So what I've done is I've pulled, because I've struggled to work out which wires were which up here. For some reason, my brain's not working. I know this bottom left down here is the feed to the pump, but either the bottom right or the top left is the earth. As it turns out, the bottom left is the feed, the top left is the earth for the pump. The bottom, the bottom right and the other one are the temperature gauge sensors. So what I've done is I've basically just noted it down. So I looked at the back of the connector on the loom. I've got a black, a white and purple. I've got a black and I've got a green and black. So that'll be the feed to the sensor, and that'll be the earth for the gauge sensor. Then looking inside the pump, so looking into the pump and looking at the 4 connectors underneath the pump. So basically what happens is you've got this connector here, goes to this connector down here, and then everything feeds down inside the pump. Okay, that bit, that malarkey there is purely for fuel gauge. So what we then do is we map, bottom left goes to red, which is that one there, and the top left goes to fat black, which is that one there. So that's what I've basically done. So I've jury rigged it up with a couple of jump leads and test wires, I should say, and that's it. So what I do next is I just put a couple of inches of water into this tank, and I'm going to put the pressure gauge on the other end, and we're going to see if we can get any real pressure out of this thing. I'll set you up on the tripod. Should be a laugh, shouldn't it? Right, I can't get any more water in that tank if I tried. Now let's see. Is there any pressure on this? There is, but then it takes a long time to build its pressure up again. It's taking too long to build the pressure up. I'd say the pump is fucked. Right, let's pull this pump apart. I think my exercise here has proven that we've got a problem with the pump. So let me just walk you around the test rig here. So what we've basically got, we've got the pump standing in, let's do this scientifically, standing in 8.5 centimetres of water, or just looks like 3¼ inches. Okay, that should be more than enough for that pump to run. Okay, we've connected it up to a battery, 12-volt battery supply. We know that that's good. And we've got the original filter on it. I could take the filter off, I guess, and we'll just double check that. There's no leaks on this line, although this line is fucked. There's no leaks on it when I kind of put my finger over the end. And when I put my finger over the end, I was able to get a spray off it. But as soon as I let it go, then it just took ages for it to build up the pressure again. And if I lift the pump out, you can see that the body is full. It's full to within about 1 centimetre of the top. So let's do it again now. So while you're watching, you can see that, you can see this. We'll just... You can hear the pump struggling, the pump's sucking air. I'd say it's fucked. I'd say that is foobar. Right, so we've got nothing to lose. Let's have him apart. I thought I'd just take the filter off. So let's just reconnect with the filter off, because sometimes these filters get bunged up. Oh, healthy at the moment. Yeah, Brussels boy. Oh, Brussels boy's got prostate problems. Oh no, oh, it's burning so much. Oh God, I can't take a piss. And we've still got, in the tank is still 2/3 full. Right, let's top the tank back up again. Right, the tank is Brimius Maximus. Take the filter off, just in case that last bit didn't video. Oh, that was good. Oh yeah, we've got a nice flow now. Any pressure? Yes. Shit, loads of pressure. And then, oh. It's not good, is it? I think our tests are conclusive here. Absolutely conclusive. Oh, that is some prostate problem, isn't it? Now, if I turn him off and look at the level that's in that can, it's about half full. Why is it only half full? Because it's not got a return on it. Right, let's wait for it to catch up. In fact, let's find out what this... because I do believe these things have got a mechanism on them that if the fuel line breaks, it slows the amount of fuel coming out. So let's have a look at that next. Let me disconnect these electrics. And take you out. Oh, it's filled up again, you see. So if I look at the back of this thing, let me just tip the coolant, the water out. Well, it just makes a fucking great mess all over my bench. On the bottom here, this is the fuel return line. So here's the fuel return line, it goes down here, and on the bottom of this is a little non-return valve, chappy here. And it could well be that that is needed in order for it to function properly. But what we can do though, is I can see some really nice handy clips on the sides here. See if we can get this this float pot off and see what's inside him. Let's put that in there. That's in there. Then we go to this one. Right, one more. Over here. And we're off. Right, now this pot can then come off, and inside we can see the filter. Oh my word. Holy crapola. That's some fucking rust in there. Right, okay. I need to get this pipe off here. Is that pipe going to come off? Or is it sealed on? It's going to come off. Right. Gotta be fucking joking me. Filter. See, the filter's just completely fucking collapsed. And then just the sheer amount of sediment we've got in the bottom here for now. Well, this isn't going to help it, is it? I've never had one of these things apart before. I've never had one do this before. Let's get all these seals out. Mr. Crap. Now what is this thing here? That looks like it is just a... Yes, it is. Just a plug in there. So this fella on the side comes out. He's got an O-ring on him. And it sucks through this bottom here. I think the problem is this filter here. There. Which is just utterly ruined. That should be floating really. So if I push that right down to the bottom, you'd expect to see bubbles of air come out of that, wouldn't you? If you could see it. But no. There's no way can anything get through that. Fucked. Maybe this pump will live again. Right, let me go and clean it up and then I'm going to retest. Right, we've been inside, we've cleaned up the tank and reassembled. I've got it wired back up again. I'm just going to put you on the tripod now and we'll see what happens. Shall we see what happens? Let's see what happens. There we go. Right. There's a hose face over here. Now let's... It's not happy, is it? I think what's happened is the pump's actually fucked itself because it's been straining so long on that bloody filter. I was rather hoping that without the filter it was going to work. Doesn't sound happy though, does it? So the fluid level is way up past the bottom of the pump. Let's just take this valve thing off, just in case. Here he comes. He's coming off. Just so we know that the fuel is going straight in and isn't being diverted by this little fella here. Go back in now. There we are. Let's try now. Oops. Well, it might well be. Now that's the sort of pressure we're talking about. That's what we should be getting. See, I can't put my finger at the end of it, which is what I was expecting. How low can I go? Right, it's got to within about 2 centimetres to the bottom and starts to run out. Let's fill him up again. So I need to get a new filter. And we'll probably find, with the new filter, let's just do a pressure check of this thing next. So, we've got a fuel filter here. Fuel filter normally has a flow direction on it. It's important to install it in the right direction. Out is obviously towards the fuel injectors, towards the engine. It hasn't got in written on the other end. So let's put this fella on. Oh, that's a nice squeaky noise, wasn't it? Sorry about that, chaps. Right, easy. Just check we're getting fuel through again. Sorry, water. I mean, bear in mind I am running this on water at the moment. Fuel will flow better. I think this filter's bunged up as well. Let's see how much we're actually getting out of it pressure-wise. Again, there's a fair amount of pressure coming out of that. I can't block it. I can't block that, but I think a filter is going to be well called for here. You can see the flow is reduced as a result of that filter being on there. Right, now, next thing I want to do is I want to check the pressure on it, which means using my handy little, this is an oil pressure gauge, but I've used this on fuel as well. I suppose it's a pressure gauge, you can use it on bloody anything, really. It comes with a wedge of handy little adapters. There we are, 19. Right, that's on. Let's put the pump onto the end of it. This is what I did when the tank was all in the car, but because I haven't got my T-piece, it's difficult to work out. Right, 5 bar, then it drops to 4. Oh, we've got a leak up here. Cheap nasty fucking kit. So that's just going to continue to drop. Just release that off. But yeah, the pump is pressuring up to 5 bar. Now I've got that nasty filter out of it. And also, we're getting flow out of it as well. Whoever flow is. I don't know who flow is. Look at that, that's more like it. See how far away I can get. And again. Fixed, I reckon. That is fixed. Right, so we need a new filter. And I think, I'm just going to double check on the cleanliness of this fella. This is I think the kind of safety feature that's built in. So the fuel return goes in here and then goes straight through to the bottle underneath. But if the fuel consumption gets too excessive, then it will slow the fuel output down. And that's what that little pop-it valve at the bottom there does. I think I can move forwards with this. What I could do, because I've ordered a T-piece, is I can fit the T-piece onto the back end of here and run it round back to the fuel inlet, and I think we'll be all right. Right, that's a good success. I'm going to pack up now because I'm heading off home. But that looks like it's going to be a winner. So, summing up, if I had my T-piece with me and attached the pressure gauge in line with the fuel feed and the fuel return, probably just forwards of the fuel filter in the rear wheel arch, then I would have initially have detected that there was no pressure whatsoever when the pressure regulator was faulty, because it's got good flow, pardon the expression, but because there's no pressure regulator in the circuit, all it's doing is pumping the circuit, pumping the fuel up to the injector ring and then passing it straight back to the fuel tank, so there'd be no pressure associated with that. Once I fixed the pressure regulator, what I would have seen then is that as I turned the ignition on, the pressure would have gone up, but probably nowhere near high enough to force the fuel through the fuel injectors. And that would have been pretty obvious then. So lessons learned here is for me to have my fuel pressure test rig available when I do jobs like this.